Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to Common English Mistakes. Don't just learn, improve. So today we're going to look at the word family of contaminated, which students often use in the wrong context or situation, especially Spanish or Portuguese speakers, because you use that word a little differently in those languages. We'll look at the meaning of this, also what you should say when students make the mistake, a little difference between rubbish and trash, British and American English, and also the word litter, which is quite useful as well. So anyway, the mistake is up here. The river in my city is very contaminated. Just pause the video and think what you should say instead. And well done if you said the river is very polluted. To say when air, land, or water is affected by harmful substances, waste, or rubbish, this is the word or word family you want to use. Polluted, the adjective, like that example. Pollute, the verb, the company was fined for polluting the river. And pollution, the noun. There is a lot of pollution in my city. Generally, if you say pollution without any other context, I'm going to think you're talking about the air. Be careful not to say this. The atmosphere is very polluted in my city. I cover this in another video. It goes nicely with this one. I suggest you check it out after this. We also have light pollution caused by electric lights. Sadly, you can't see many stars in the city because of light pollution. And noise pollution. For example, airports create a lot of noise pollution. These ones are only using the noun. We wouldn't say my city is very light polluted. Although I said you can use this to refer to land, it would be a bit strange to say this. There is a lot of pollution in the park. Here, it's much more natural to use rubbish, British English, or trash, American English. There is another mistake I hear with this. If you said, put that in the trash, American English, no problem, but you can't say the same thing in British English. My students a couple of weeks ago said, can I put this in the rubbish? Here you want to say rubbish bin or just bin. We also use this to mean very bad, an extreme adjective. So that film was rubbish, or absolutely rubbish, if you want to intensify it. And also as a noun to mean something that isn't true, or nonsense. People say, some people can't learn a language. Obviously, that's absolute rubbish. Another useful one to talk about smaller, more individual pieces of rubbish, especially outside, is litter. So there is a lot of litter in that park, and we also use this as a verb. Personally, I can't stand people who litter. So those are the words and word families you're going to need to talk about everyday, normal situations in your city, for example. Let's now look at contaminated. A good example of this is, sadly, a few years ago, the water around the Fukushima nuclear plant was contaminated with radioactive material. Let's compare contaminated and polluted then. Just pause the video and think what the difference between these two words is in terms of how serious each one is and which one is more general or specific. And well done if you said, obviously we use this when it's more serious, like a nuclear disaster, and it's also less general and more specific. When you say the river is polluted, it's quite general, whereas if you say the water is contaminated, there's a very specific thing or substance which is contaminating it. In this case, radioactive material. So contaminated, adjective, contaminate, verb, contamination, noun, are generally used to talk about something being made unsafe. Like that example, we often use it to talk about the water supply, the water we drink. So The water in Flint, Michigan was contaminated with lead. Food can be contaminated. A supermarket will recall, take back products it sells if it's contaminated with things like E. coli. There's something called cross-contamination, where one food, like raw chicken, contaminates another, like vegetables. We also use this in more scientific or technical contexts. So surgeons wear gloves and a mask to prevent contamination of things like surgical tools. And in this context, we also use it to mean made impure rather than unsafe. So for example, the sample became contaminated and they had to do the experiment again. The more everyday situations use the polluted word family to talk about air or water. If it's on land, generally you want to use rubbish, litter for smaller pieces, and the contaminated word family is going to be for more serious or technical contexts. Before we do a bit of practice, if you think this video isn't rubbish, make sure you like, subscribe, and maybe share the video with others. Your help getting this channel to grow would be much appreciated. Anyway, let's practice and improve. Just pause the video and put a word from today's lesson into these questions. More than one option may be possible. Try to choose the most natural one. And well done. If you said, can you see the Milky Way, our galaxy at night, or is there too much light pollution? Do you sometimes enjoy watching rubbish, very bad films? Would you swim in your nearest river, or is it too polluted? Next one, how can you prevent cross-contamination in the kitchen? What would you do if you saw your friend drop some litter in the park? You could also say rubbish, but litter is better. And finally, has there been a scandal in your country, like Flint, Michigan, involving a contaminated water supply? So now just pause the video, choose one of those questions where the language is newer to you, and write an answer in the comments to practice it. As ever, guys, this is good for you. You get to practice. Good for me, helps the channel. Anyway, that's basically it for today. I hope it was useful for you, and now you're going to make fewer mistakes and hopefully know a bit of new language. I'll see you for another video next week. So until next time, see ya.